Thank you very, very much, Reverend Forsyth. I'm very pleased to be here. This church, as many of you know, at least some of you know, is very, very close to me. Those of you who attend the interfaith service, you have seen me speak here many, many times. And I'm very close to the leaders here, Reverend Allen. Before I begin, I want to thank Reverend Forsyth, Eunice Austin. It requires somebody to turn these things on. And Pat Carlson and other members who are part of the Enrichment Program Committee. I really thank them very much for giving me this opportunity to share with you some of my thoughts regarding the faith that I have been fortunate to belong to for a very, very long time. You know, ever since the 9/11 tragedy, we have witnessed the cruel hand of man cause death and destruction. I don't think I need this anymore because all of them believe that I am a genuine Glastonbury Hindu. Cruel hand of man that has caused death and destruction in several regions across our country and abroad, from the Middle East to Europe to Mumbai to Myanmar. To add to these tragedies, we most recently suffered and continue to suffer the fury of Mother Nature in the form of wind, water, fire, and earthquake damages in Texas, Florida, Mexico, the Caribbean, Los Angeles, Anaheim. When I started making these notes some time ago, I had only Texas on the list. And we have suffered so much in the past few weeks. Excuse me. And the cruel hand of man struck again a couple of nights ago. While debates to identify the causes and consequences continue, the Hindu approach has always been, and not unlike other faiths, to seek divine protection and guidance. In so doing, ancient Hindu spiritual leaders developed what you might call a series of guidelines for human behavior and defined boundaries within which one can lead a life which is enjoyable, peaceful, productive, and meaningful. The resulting set of wisdoms is what I wish to share with you tonight. These Hindu wisdoms constitute a value system, some of which are universal values that have the potential to bring us together as a family, a world family. The authoritative basis, for these wisdoms is rooted in several ancient Hindu scriptures, all of them in Sanskrit, of course. These are the 4 Vedas: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda, and Sama Veda. Those are the 4 Vedas. The major Upanishads. There are 108 Upanishads, out of which 12 are very prominent because many great saints have written commentaries on those over the centuries. So there are 108, but 12 are the major. The 2 major epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. And you can see the theme of the Mahabharata in this illustration. And the Puranas. These are ancient storybooks. They are called by some of our saints as magnifying glasses for the Vedas, Vedas are very complicated. So to illustrate a particular point made in the Vedas, you go to Puranas, and through a variety of stories, they convey the difficult principle that we would not otherwise have been able to absorb. The earliest of these Vedas, the Rig Veda, began with hymns praising fire, earth, wind, water, etc., followed by the other three Vedas with elaborate instructions on how to plan and perform rituals to worship a variety of gods and goddesses. The end product of all these intellectual pursuits is known as the Upanishads, which simply declare, this is the important point to note, the Upanishads simply declared that none of this is necessary. No rituals, no elaborate preparations, none of this is necessary, is what they concluded. Clearly, we are not a people of a one book. Now, these wisdoms are buried in different parts of these scriptures and are not readily available in the shape of a concise set of statements like, for example, the Ten Commandments. And that makes it hard, even for Hindus, to study, contemplate, and absorb the depth of meaning implied in these scriptures. Even if you can access these documents with relative ease these days via, for example, a search engine, you may find it hard to translate and to interpret the cryptic verses in Sanskrit, because translating Sanskrit into English requires expertise beyond the languages and includes knowledge of the philosophy in context. That is the reason for a teacher or a guru to guide you through the basic principles and interpretation with narrative examples and illustrations from the epics and the Puranas, the storybooks. Finding such a guru is not easy in these times. And even when you do find one, a Hindu guru's normal practice is to let you figure it out. An attitude which certainly weeds out the casual and the curious. Only the serious students have to be accepted. This puts an enormous burden on individuals.